50 years old. I'd never had an accident in my life. I'd always been very careful. I was quite athletic. I always knew where every part of my body was. That's what angered me the most. It shouldn't have happened. But, when it does happen, it's over as soon as it starts. You don't get a second chance. It was the first time that I went up by myself to check on the Molly filter and the Molly room. And it was just before coffee, and all I had to do was go clean out the auger. Now that entails going up there, shutting it off, locking it out, and then cleaning it out, and then firing it up again, and making sure that when it fired up, it didn't clog up. And I had been shown a way to make sure that it didn't clog up, and there was a breakdown in the training, and I shouldn't have done what I did. And the part that annoys me the most is while I was doing it, the little alarm bells were going off in my head. I knew this is not right. What happened was I was holding a cover up over the auger. Instead of holding the cover in this fashion, up like this, I was holding it like this. And when I had the mishap, I'd been shown to poke a hole in the material so the water could run through and wash it all through the auger. Well, I was holding the shelf up like this, poked into the auger, and the auger caught the poking stick. So I jumped back, and as I jumped back, I extended my arm. That increased the weight on the panel. My hand dropped down a little bit, and the auger just caught the tip of this finger on the glove, and it pulled my hand in. And so as I'm fighting and screaming and cursing, my sleeves were rolled up on my coveralls, and I noticed my coveralls are starting to slide down. So I quickly grabbed my coveralls and let my hand go. Well, that auger was turning about this fast. But you know what? My hand went in there like this. That's how it felt. I had no time. I felt the glove pulling. I went to pull my hand back, and I couldn't get it out. The Molly auger, the Molly clogged everything. So there wasn't a whole lot of bleeding, and the glove stayed on. When I got to the hospital, the only thing that was attached to my thumb to my hand was a thin strip of skin and one blood vessel. The back of my hand had been peeled back, and all the tendons had been, not all, but from here over, the tendons had been snapped or pushed back. So we get into the hospital, and I was in surgery for, I believe, it was close to 12 hours, 11 and a half hours. The first 5.5 hours, the doctors spent trying to clean my hand, trying to clean the Molly so they could salvage something. After 5.5 hours, I said, forget it, cut away the debris, and then went and got these flaps. This is from my right thigh, and then for around here, for the front of the hand, is my left thigh. You have to remember, everything was peeled back to my wrist here. They reattached my thumb and my finger, came back in the middle of the night because circulation, I wasn't getting any blood, so they cleaned it up again, reattached it. A few hours later, still no circulation. So then they had to amputate. After the surgery, I looked like this. My wife brought everybody up to see me, and we've always been very cuddly. The girls like hugs. I love giving them hugs, they're my babies. And they had a hard time getting past the foot of the bed. They just looked at me and their eyes were like doorknobs. And I was like, my youngest one was terrified. We had to convince her to come and talk to me, come and hug me, right? I got all these wires and tubes and just like on TV, hooked up to everything, and it took a really long time. My youngest one is still struggling with it. It has changed her. People say, well, she got it. No, she didn't get over it. You go from being invincible and you're the center of their lives. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there, you got friggin' bags and machines going beep and messes a kid up. Because when it hits you, it's the weirdest things. Things that you wouldn't ever expect to have to deal with. I noticed that Liam matured very quickly after that. And she's doing great now. I admire her. She's got focus, and whereas before she was so, life's good. Maybe all of a sudden her homework started getting done, and it's not how you want your kids to learn that lesson, but it does. It did focus her in that way. It did take away that carefree innocence. Yeah. So I thought, well, I better talk to her and see what she thinks about all this. And So I pulled her into the bedroom. We sat on the bed like we always used to do, and I asked her, I said, you know, honey, I said, I never asked you. I said, how has this accident affected you? How does it, you know, are you okay? And she started crying. She said, Daddy, I'm scared. All of a sudden, you know, Daddy can get hurt too. And I think maybe it opens up her eyes a little bit, opened up her eyes to the fact that, well, you know, maybe I'm not so invincible either, because children are. We all are when we're that age, you know, nothing will stop us. And I think she realized her immortality a lot sooner than you would want your child to, you know. 2.5 years later, and she's still scared. So, you know, it affects your whole family. It goes right through the fiber of your family. It spirals into your life. It just, you know, it doesn't spiral. It's like it's a ripple, and it's a tidal wave type ripple. My wife is very caring, but it was hard on her. It was very hard on our relationship. It's still hard on the relationship. It messes up your whole life. I mean, for 3 months, she changed my dressings on my hands and my legs every day, twice a day. You know, all of a sudden I'm a patient. I'm not her husband anymore. It's really hard because, you know, there is a part of me missing. It's taken a long time for me to come around and feel comfortable using my hand. And Lorena's been very patient and very, very good about it. And I don't think I could bear back for that, no matter how long I lived.